actually finally got myself a jersey here for our Calgary Roughnecks lacrosse team. So with that, it's time for another episode of Hi there, it's Brett Hornby here. Welcome to my Calgary Roughnecks this month. This is where I recap the Calgary Roughnecks and how they did this past month here, and finally got myself a Roughnecks jersey here, and looking fine here and all red here, and actually surprised this whole thing is all knitted here, and I didn't get a particular player there, but when I saw it at the shop there, that's also knitted in too, so it's not like hockey or football jersey where the some logos are stitched on here, but this is what you call, whole knitted thing in here. Anyway, let's all talk about the jersey here. Got a couple housekeeping items here to go before I start recapping here. I mean, the first episode was all talk about business and that and the CBA, and I felt it was appropriate to do that. But episode 2 we'll talk about games that actually were played here. But first thing is, I apologize to number 18. His name is actually Reese Dutch. That's how you pronounce it. I'll just remember Reese Peanut Butter Cups from the Netherlands, and he's been definitely a sweet pickup for the Calgary Roughnecks here as the Vancouver Warriors. He was with the Stealth franchise the 10 years that he's played in the NLL, and right in training camp, the Vancouver Warriors released him, and basically immediately the Calgary Roughnecks said thank you very much, and he's looked just like me. He's looking pretty good in Roughnecks gear, and so I apologize to that. If you're watching, it's Reese Dutch. And then the second thing is, with all the recent expansion in the NLL, they actually changed the playoff format here. I mean, there's 2 divisions. You got the West is where the Calgary Roughnecks in, and then you got the East division. There's 5 teams in the West and 6 in the East right now this season, and they changed the playoff format that there's still 3 rounds. You got the semifinal for the divisional final, and then that's championship series. But now what they did is that you got the first place team will play the 4th place team in the divisional semifinal, and then you got the 2nd place team and play the 3rd place team in the divisional semifinal. The number 1 and 2 will get the home turf for home field, and it's a single game elimination. And then the winners of those 2 games will meet each other in the divisional final in a single game elimination, where the better team with the better record, better seed, will get home turf for home field. And then the winner of both divisional finals will meet in the finals. It will be a best of 3 like it was last year. Obviously the higher ranked team will get home turf in game 1, and game 3, if it goes to a best of 3 for a finals aside for the NLL Cup. So last year there were 6 teams that made the playoffs, but the divisional winners got a bye right into the divisional final. But not anymore. We have 8 teams that will make the playoffs, 8 out of 11. Well, there's actually going to be 2 more teams coming into the league here in the next couple of years, because they already announced Halifax and Long Island. And interesting, what the plan is that the division's already unbalanced. I mean, they're going to have 2 more teams in the East, and not sure, but we'll see how that plays out. But the league's expanding here, so that's the couple of housekeeping items here. So let's get going on to how December went for the Calgary Roughnecks, December 2018 in the NLL season, 2018-19 here. So let's bring up my notes here, as I do with my other shows here. I make them all in Google Docs here, which I find is a lot more efficient. You can do it on the go, and you're not scribbling all over the place here. So let's start off here. We knew this game happened, but there's very little information on. You have to dig through social media, the Twitter feed, and you just see a score here. But it's not even on the NLL website, or I think it might briefly mention on the Calgary Roughnecks website. But the preseason game, which due to the CBA uncertainty there, got rescheduled to Saturday, December the 8th. This is the only preseason game, and the Calgary Roughnecks did play the Saskatchewan Rush, but it was at the Saskatchewan Center with a 7 p.m. ball drop, and the Saskatchewan Rush did beat the Calgary Roughnecks 17-11 in the only preseason game here. And there's really not much to find on this game. We just knew that the game was played, and we lost 17-11. The Rush has definitely been a thorn in the side on the Roughnecks here the last couple of years. I mean, the Rush has been in the finals the last 2 years, and they're the defending champions this past season, and they're based out of Saskatoon here. So that's the preseason here. And now, if you get to the regular season here, if you go back to Saturday, December the 15th for week 1, the Calgary Roughnecks were hosting the Vancouver Warriors here, the team that, as mentioned, they rebranded themselves from the Vancouver Stealth, and they moved away from the Langley Event Center, and now they're playing in Vancouver downtown here. But this game first was at the Scotiabank Saddledome here, and how to sum this game up is that the Roughnecks did outplay the Warriors here for about 50 minutes here, but we couldn't seem to put them away when it mattered the most here, because the final score was 14-13 for the Warriors in overtime here. But at one point the Warriors were down 13-9 there in the fourth quarter, and then they rallied to tie it up late and forced overtime here. And captain of the Vancouver Warriors, Matt Beers, at the 4:17 mark scored the winner. You get across in overtime is 15-minute sudden death in a quarter there, so it took 4 minutes to get a goal there. We did outshoot the Warriors overall, 56-46 here, and I mean, we did outplay them, and this Warriors team actually is looking a lot better than the when they were the Stealth last year playing in Langley. They were 2-16 last year, so they already got their first win here. Calgary Roughnecks though definitely led the way with Dane Doby here. He had 5 goals and 4 assists, and Tyler Pace also had 2 goals and 4 assists. Those are the 2 guys that led the way for the Roughnecks here. And on the Vancouver side of the ball, Logan Schuss, he had 3 goals and assists, and then James Resch, 2 goals and 3 assists for the Warriors. Goalie for the Roughnecks, Tristan Del Bianco, had 32 saves, while Aaron Bold for the Vancouver Warriors stopped 43 Roughneck shots. So the Vancouver Warriors spoiled the party home opener for the Calgary Roughnecks here, but they didn't have long to wait to see each other again, because the next week, on Friday, December the 21st, for week 2, Calgary Roughnecks went to Vancouver, and this is at the Rogers Arena where the Canucks play of the NHL. It was an 8 p.m. ball drop. Maybe the Roughnecks will return the favor on the Vancouver Warriors and spoil their home opener. And the other thing to note here, that this is the first time that lacrosse is played in downtown Vancouver in 14 years, because it used to be the Ravens franchise before it folded. But anyway, the Vancouver Warriors definitely looked inspired to start the game, and at one point they actually were up 6-3 in the second quarter there, before the Roughnecks rallied and made it a 6-6 game at the half there. And then in the second half, we definitely got our revenge on the Warriors and put them away in the second half by outscoring them 8-2 here, including shutting out the Warriors in the third quarter. So we definitely showed how great our offense can be, and I think Christian Del Bianco is proven to be one of the top goalies in the NLL. And speaking of Mr. Dutch here, Reese Dutch, I mean, he did actually score a goal in the home opener here, but he definitely had a little chip on his shoulder, I think, being in Vancouver, and after losing in overtime here, he definitely maybe made the Warriors regret, letting him cut loose. He had 2 goals and 8 assists, so a 10-point game for Reese Dutch for the Calgary Roughnecks now. And during that game, he also collected his 900th career point in the NLL. So he's definitely looking great for the Calgary Roughnecks here. Dane Doby, 4 goals, 3 assists. I mean, He's right now the Roughnecks all-time leading scorer. And also, let's recognize Riley Lowen, who had a hat trick with 3 goals and 2 assists for the Roughnecks on the Vancouver side of the ball. The one guy that stood out the most was Itch Jones. He had 2 goals and 2 assists for the Warriors. So when it comes to the goaltending, Christian Del Bianco stopped 36 shots here, and Aaron Bold stopped 38 shots for the Warriors here, as the Roughnecks did outshot the Warriors in this game 52-44 here. So we got revenge. Both road teams won the back-to-back with the Vancouver Warriors here. So now let's go to Friday, December the 28th. It was the ugly Christmas sweater party, game right after Christmas here. The Calgary Roughnecks had their first look at the San Diego Seals here, the expansion team, and the San Diego Seals proved there were going to be no pushover because they won their very first game in Colorado the week before with a 17-12 win over the Colorado Mammoth. But the big storyline for this game is it was definitely a goaltending duel, because we have Christian Del Bianco now with our Calgary Roughnecks here, and he stole the job away from Frankie Sciliano, who was the starting goalie for the Roughnecks, but he did struggle a little bit last season, and with the expansion draft there, you only can protect one goalie here, and the Roughnecks decided to keep the younger Del Bianco, who took over the net here. And if you go back to my expansion draft video there, Frankie Sciliano was one of the guys that the Calgary Roughnecks lost to the San Diego Seals here, so he was coming back with maybe a little chip on his shoulder here, and there was definitely a lot of shots in this game, but not as many goals because both Del Bianco and Sciliano were strong in net. I mean, it was 1-1 after the first quarter. I mean, that's almost unheard of in a lacrosse game. It was 3-2 San Diego Seals at halftime. I've been to lacrosse games where it was 3-2 and there's still 10 minutes to go in the first quarter here. Then it was tied at 4 after 3 quarters here. So it was definitely a very low-scoring game, and it almost felt like the next goal to win it, but then the Roughnecks came strong in the fourth quarter and put away the Seals with a 9-5 victory here. And, the Roughnecks, they did outshoot the Seals here 58-51 here, so we definitely had over 100 shots in net here, so it wasn't lack of offense. I mean, definitely I would say the Seals looked a lot more aggressive compared to the Warriors, and some shots were outside here, but Christian Del Bianco definitely made some strong saves, especially in the second half there when it was still close. And Frankie Sciliano, he definitely had a strong game too, but I think the chink in the armor must have came in the fourth quarter there. But the only negative I can really say with the Calgary Roughnecks that I'm sure they'll talk about and cover coming up here is that they were brutal in the face-offs. They only won 30% of the face-offs in this game. I mean, after every quarter they highlight, the score, the shots, and how they did on special teams. And there was a point there, I was like, really? San Diego's 11 for 11 on face-offs, and we were 0 for 11 there, and I was like, wow. But then it definitely was noticed that when the Calgary Roughnecks, and it wasn't until the fourth quarter, and the fans kind of gave the Bronx cheer that we won a face-off. So, maybe Kurt Mulaski will get some advice from Bill Peters across the hall about how to win face-offs and get possession right away, because that's what the Flames were stressing here. So other things to highlight here is that Dane Dolby, once again for the Roughnecks, led the way with 2 goals, 4 assists, and Reese Dutch 3 goals, 2 assists for the hat trick. And no one really stood out for San Diego on the score sheet, but like I said, they were definitely a lot more aggressive here. This was definitely the game for the goalies here. Christian Del Bianco for the Roughnecks, 46 saves, and Frankie Sciliano, the former Roughneck, now Seal, 49 saves here. So the Calgary Roughnecks start the 2018-19 NL season 2-1 here. And in case you're wondering here, I didn't mention any word about, there was no word about what's up with Curtis Superman Dixon or Mitch Wild, if they're ever going to return. I mean, they're still on the projected negotiation list, but there's hardly any word, about are they going to sign, or I mean, basically the big guys that has been filling the offensive void that they left behind is Dane Novi, Reese Dutch, who definitely fell in Calgary's lap from Vancouver, and you got Riley Lowen and Tyler Pace here and there. So we're still doing all right despite missing those two. We could definitely use those two. If you look at my opening videos there, I mean, I had my home opener video there where they introduced the team there. They had the name of Dixon and Wild in the graphic there, but then I actually recorded the video just to capture, seeing the Seals for the first time from where I was sitting to 121 at the Saddledome there, and those two names weren't showing. So, and if you go to the Fan store or at the Saddledome, there was still plenty of Wild and Dixon jerseys. So I don't know. So, as I do with all the other shows here, I'm not going to do any stats just yet because it's still fairly early. I think I'll do that, but let's look ahead to January here. So, Sunday, January 6th, this will be week 4. The Calgary Roughnecks will be at the Pepsi Center in Colorado to take on the Colorado Mammoth. 1 p.m. ball drop. And the one thing you definitely notice in the Pepsi Center is I think that M seems a little too big on the field there. I mean, that's a humongous M that you see, on the field there at the Colorado Mammoth. Definitely make an impact here. And then the next time the Roughnecks will be back in the Rough House here will be Saturday, January 12th for week 5. They'll be taking on the New England Black Wolves. That's a 7 p.m. ball drop at Scotia Big Saddledome. And then this gets a little funny here as they actually play twice in week 6 here. Because on Thursday, January the 17th, the Calgary Roughnecks will be making their first ever visit to San Diego at the Peching Arena. That's an 8 p.m. ball drop, so they'll be taking on the San Diego Seals in San Diego. And then a couple days later, on Sunday, January the 20th, to close out week 6, they go back to Colorado at the Pepsi Center to take on the Colorado Mammoth, another 1 p.m. afternoon delight, Sunday afternoon, Pepsi Center. But then they have a bye to close out January week 7s here. So the Calgary Roughnecks definitely have a busy couple weeks here after once we get into the new year. So we'll see how this goes, and then maybe they'll be able to sign both Dixon and Wild if they still are interested in coming aboard here, if they can come to agreement here. But it'll be interesting to see how depth we test, especially the playing twice in week 6 here. But this is episode 2 of my Calgary Roughnecks this month, and if you're like everything I do on my YouTube channel, just make sure you hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video here.